Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, December 28th, the last Thursday of 2023, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
What an introduction. Yeah, what's up, everybody?
2020, whatever it is. What is the year?
It's good to be back, though. Yeah, for sure. I'm very, very excited for this show. Yeah, you're going to kind of put a wrap on 2023, which for racing, that's definitely good. And head into 24, and man, the action is kind of stacked this weekend for 2-year-olds getting ready to turn 3, and then Monday they'll actually be 3. So it'll be interesting to see how all of it shakes out here early on.
Yeah, we were kind of going through today's kind of topic at hand and what we're going to kind of go over today, and both of us were like, well, I mean, it makes sense. It's the last pod of I think it's the last pod for the site, right? For this year. And so we're like, well, let's do something like a recap. And both of us were like, I don't want to do that. Like, this year feels more than I can remember. A year of, okay, it happened. Let's move on. Let's look for 2024. So instead, we're like, let's go towards a little more positive. I feel like inevitably we would have been talking about 2023. We would have been like, that was good. And then been like, yeah, I mean, that's tough, right? To go to pick through. So yeah, we'll look towards 2024.
Definitely more bad than good for a lot of 2023. So yeah, no need to rehash that for sure. And look, I think we ended the year pretty strong. I thought we had a big Breeders' Cup. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. So hopefully, that's kind of the lead into this season. That should be fun. I mean, you think about even like to start the year, the Pegasus was like a weird day last year too. So, not even to start. So maybe that was foreshadowing the things to come. Who knows?
Yeah, it's again, let's just move on. We won't hash out what happened last year, but we'll look forward to what's going to happen, hopefully, in 2024. Before we get into the show, though, we'll do this kind of moving forward with as we head into the next year, kind of a look at what we've seen, what we've from the 3-year-old department, or I guess now 2-year-olds about to be 3-year-olds as we head towards the Kentucky Derby. Track Phantom kind of pulling off the upset for Steve Asmussen, winning last week in the Gun Runner. Thoughts on this one, and maybe even more so, thoughts on the disappointment by the favorite?
Yeah, Nash was supposed to win that race pretty easy, and he ended up getting third. He never really picked up his feet much into the stretch. I feel like Track Phantom kind of got the trip that Nash was supposed to get, and Track Phantom got it, didn't stop. I knew up the backside, Track Phantom was going to be really, really tough to beat. He just had that Asmussen look, where he's just kind of right up on the lead and cruising and not really exerting much effort. And I knew then, he's going to be really, really tough to run down. And he ran well. I'm not sure any of those horses are great or really put up great performances. I wouldn't shut the door on any of them either. I think it's so early. It's hard to get wrapped up in it. But look, I mean, it was obviously a really, really disappointing effort from the big favorite Nash. I didn't think he did much running, really. He did okay to run third. That's about as good as you could put it. The buyer did not come back overly high, 89 buyer for Track Phantom, which is okay. Nash gets an 84 buyer after a buyer in the 90s. So that kind of shows you, hey, if Nash kind of runs his race, he probably wins, but he didn't. So give Track Phantom a lot of credit.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with him. I don't know that I'm not like, you and I were talking a lot about it, obviously, right after it happened. And I mean, I think it's easy to be really negative about Nash just based off of what the expectations were a minute before the race, right? I mean, I think it was like, this might be the Derby winner. And so I think it's really hard, easy, immediately, especially to kind of go immediately into, he sucks. This horse is awful. This is like, what a disaster.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's Well, I don't think he's what we thought he was, right? But at the same time, like he might still be okay. Like I don't. It's still so early. We've seen horses like that, especially from Brad Cox. Disappoint in that circuit. What's the one I'm thinking of?
Mandaloon would be the
Yeah,
top.
thank you. Very similar, where the horse just did not run at all and then kind of came back. So you never know. I think the horse could, but I do think like any good horse, like really like the horse that you think might be Derby winner quality, you would have liked to see a little bit more from him.
Oh, obviously would like to see a lot more from him. But like you said, it is fairgrounds. Weird things can happen there, race to race. And you just don't win the Derby on December 23rd. I just can't put it any more plainly than that. And that's not to say that I think Nash got a lot out of the race and looked great and is in perfect shape. No, I don't. But at the same time, what happens if Nash wins by like 5? It's still just December 23rd, right? And so you just kind of have to take him one by one. I was shocked he didn't win. I thought it'd be a pretty easy win for him. It wasn't. Doesn't mean he can't bounce back, but it was not a good performance. We'll see what happens. You kind of said it. I think the next race will kind of tell you what he is. Because if he runs it again, then you're like, well, maybe we just kind of overhyped him, or he could bounce back. So I think the next race is really going to tell the story on him.
Do you really think, because we visited it last week a little bit with the draft, but like as far as like, did you learn much out of the Futurity or the Springboard Mile as it relates obviously to the Derby?
I don't know in what world anybody out of the Springboard Mile is going to make any sense down the road. I thought this is the biggest Springboard Mile fan there is sitting right here, and I just was like that. It was a fun race. I remember watching it and being like, well, that was fun. And then, you get up and you start looking at the numbers. And it's like, oh shit. And then, you look at the buyer and it's like, oh, it's not good. You knew kind of by the time it wasn't going to be. I mean, the Los Al Futurity kind of the same. I don't see what world any of those horses are really going to make a huge impact on like the Kentucky Derby itself. We may see him on the trail do okay, but a lot of improving is going to have to be done. And really, you can say that about the Gun Runner too. All 3 of those races, a lot of these horses are really going to have to improve to kind of make an impact.
Yeah. I mean, and then I think with the Futurity, that was like, like 14 Bafferts in the race, and the other Baffert won. That was a weird race in itself. Like, we talk about that race a lot of times being like, okay, like maybe it gives us an idea of, okay, who's the Baffert that you at least need to look out for as we head into next year. And I don't know that we learned anything from that one.
I thought all 3 of his horses, I mean, the winner, I think, is one that's getting better. Talking about Winstock, I think he's getting better. Coach Prime, he got a pretty wide trip. At the same time, he didn't inspire me much. Yeah, I mean, all of them are just gonna have to get better. I just kind of looked at both of those races as like, ugh, these horses they're not there right now. They're just not. And again, Arabian Lion ran in that race last year and was just awful. And by the time we got to the Keeneland race there, the Lexington, he was great. So so you just never know how they're going to progress. But none of them really were too inspiring in that spot.
The thing that makes, and we talk about this all the time, but the thing that makes these Baffert 2-year-olds or soon to be 3-year-olds so difficult is you just never like. They could like literally, we may not see Coach Prime run again until, like you kind of mentioned, until April, or maybe he runs back and, wins a stakes race and whatever. Like, it's so hard that's why when you watch our draft, it's like there's so many Bafferts that are claimed or drafted just because you're like, I don't know. I mean, maybe one of these could pop up. Like, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see Coach Prime be nothing, and one of these horses that we don't even know about or have unraced be the Baffert you want,
Yeah, for sure. And I think with the Kentucky Derby situation, he might have 2, 3, 4 in the past that he'd kind of push towards that Derby, even though he knew, well, they probably can't win it, but we'd like to get him in there. Where now, if he's got a horse, and I'm not saying any of these horses fit that bill, but if he's got a horse that's like, they're okay, but man, if you give him some time, they'll really develop second half. He'll just give him time. where in the past he might not have. And again, I don't really know who fits that bill or who doesn't at this point. It's still pretty early, but yeah, Coach Prime's one where it's like, yeah, he needs to grow up a little bit. We'll give him 6 months, and I can see that happening. So I don't know. I do think with him, he has a little bit of an excuse, but he still didn't really kick on. So I'm just not, I don't know. I don't have a lot of interest in anything that's ran the last 3 weeks, to be completely honest with you. I don't think they're as good as the Breeders' Cup runners.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to end that. Is just I think that from those races maybe other than the springboard, which I am with you completely, but it's those other two, you're not writing any of them off necessarily because it is so early, and they can develop, and there's a ton of excuses, right? These 2-year-olds, but at the same time, you're not sitting there saying, "Wow, fierceness needs to watch out." This is the real, you know what I mean? You didn't have that. And I think that's the safest way. Sure, these were Nash and Coach Prime and whoever, yeah, sure. Definitely could win stakes races as 3-year-olds. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised.
Yep.
But I don't know that I'm sitting here, worried that fierceness is going to have some competition as of right now, from those horses.
Yeah, to me, Fierceness and Nisos are now easily top 2, and Nash falls out because of that race.
Yeah.
He was kind of that one you thought, well, if he goes and wins this one, he'll jump up with those 2, and then he throws out a dud. So it's he's off that list. Again, and I think you said it, that doesn't necessarily mean, well, give up on all these horses. It just means as of right now, they're not at that level of those 2. So,
all right. By the way, how you feeling about tonight's game? You got the sweater on there. You got the game time at 8:15?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bigger game for Arizona than it is for us, definitely. But I do think we're ready to play. Listen, we got a brand new quarterback, so we'll see what happens there. I'm not overly interested, or I'm interested, but I'm not overly worried about the score. I hope the quarterback plays well. That's my big concern about this game.
Is it weird? I don't know, because I don't have obviously you're way more into college football than I am, but is it weird for to be oh yeah, we're in a bowl game, but you may not have the right players playing, or is it just, how do you get kind of you at least sounds like you are, how do you get excited about it if you don't feel like it's it's not even the real team?
You can't, to be honest. I used to love these bowls, and I hate them now. So you can't is the honest answer. Listen, part of it's going to get fixed. We're going to expand the playoffs, so it'll be more teams and more games that matter. But at the end of the day, there's only 2 games that really matter out of all the 40 so many games that they have, right? So, I think for a team like Arizona, they could get 10 wins for the 3rd or 4th time in the history of their program. If they win tonight, that's still a big deal. And you see it because their team hasn't left. They have almost all their guys tonight. The team like Oklahoma,
yeah,
there's just not going to be that motivation there. It's all self-motivation. And we have guys that care. And so I don't want to say they don't care, but at the same time, it's such a meaningless game, and you don't have your players, like you just said. And so it's really ruined the Bulls. They're really not, they're not anything what they used to be.
Yeah. And it's when you don't have, for teams and not organizations, but programs like Oklahoma, where it's basically the goal every year is to win the national championship, right?
Right.
Yep. If you don't do that, then it's kind of a letdown, and in reality that there's obviously those, a few of those programs out there, like you said, Arizona, maybe there's not every year they can't compete for one, but this was a good outcome for their program this year.
Oh yeah, they're ecstatic. Nobody thought they would maybe go 6-6 and make one of these lower bowls, and now 9-3 and haven't lost since October, 1st of October. So they're ecstatic. But yeah, you get teams like us, we're not real happy to be where we're at tonight. But I think the fun of tonight is programs is you do get to see some of your future will be on the field. So There's
That's
that.
fair. I mean,
Yeah.
at least that. I mean, I think it's scary to bet these kind of games because it's like if it say Oklahoma got down 14 or something, could they just like kind of let off, and just be like, yeah, this could get out of hand.
I've been telling people for 3 weeks, don't bet these games. I mean, and of course, my dad picks one today, and it's just like, wow, what are you doing? Like these games are almost impossible. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't bet. Now the semifinals, yes, but the rest of these
Yeah,
games, you're kind of it's not preseason football, but it kind of is. It's kind of what it's like, you don't know. One game, I can't remember the team now. There were 2 or 3 key guys that said they were going to play. I was like, okay, that's great. And they played a quarter and then they sat out. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
So it was like,
I was watching
don't
the
know.
game the other night, and again, there's so many of them. When it's all
Yeah.
those bullshit games, you're just like, whatever. But they were like, they're like, yeah, he's obviously, he's gonna go to the draft. He was a running back, and he's like, he's probably gonna go out to the draft next year. So like, they're making sure, like, it was a close game, and he was not out on the field like for the whole third quarter because they were limiting his carries and stuff. And you're like, dude, like that's brutal.
I know.
So why
I
would you
know.
bet it? But
I know.
anyways.
Well, the Heisman Trophy winner isn't playing in his game. I mean, it's bad.
Anyways, all right, guys. So yeah, we gotta make sure we're out of here before Halterman's game time. But let's get into today's show. We're gonna look forward into next year, into 2024, and discuss kind of what we're looking forward to most coming into next year. Then we're gonna get some rapid fire selections for some of the graded stakes races running this weekend around the country. Let's go. Yeah, so we're just gonna look through these and basically gonna go back and forth. We haven't talked about what we're doing, and this could be horses, it could be experiences, it could be a track, it could be a race, whatever it is. It's just in general, we're trying to look positively into the year and less about what we saw last year. So, or this year, I guess. So, I'll let you kick things off. Give me one of your items. We don't have to be in order, but one of your things you're looking forward to most to see in 2024?
Well, I think the thing I'm looking forward to most is the thing I actually text you about. And geez, shoddy Belmont at Saratoga. She said it right as I was getting ready to say it. That's the thing I'm most looking forward to. Honestly, I definitely think Belmont at Saratoga will be something extremely unique and a lot of fun, and at a place that is a besides last year that we're not getting into, but really a great place to go. So I think the Belmont at Saratoga will be incredible. I can't wait for him to come out of the chute going a mile and everybody talking about that. I can't wait for the Graveyard of Champions holding the Belmont. I think people will go crazy over that kind of stuff. I'm really excited for that one.
I mean, it's gonna be, well, it's just a surreal experience that you don't know what it's gonna be like, but it's gonna be different. I think in the regards of it being there, I'm more interested and excited about just the Saratoga in itself, the town. What is it going to be like? Obviously we've been there a million times for Saratoga racing, but for this experience, being a Triple Crown race, like I'm very interested to see kind of the vibe and if it matches up. I imagine it will, and maybe even bigger. But how it matches up to what we're used to seeing or experiencing when we go out there, outside of the track itself.
100%. I think, being there for the Travers, if anybody listening's been there for that, that it's kind of crazy, and will it be that? Will it be bigger than that? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be fun to see. You're right. It's a town will be buzzing. It can definitely handle it though. It's handled big events in the past. So, and look, I think I really wish there would be a Triple Crown on the line.
Oh man.
Just for how special that would be. And also just the frickin' uproar of it's not a mile and a half and blah, 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 all that bullshit that you're going to hear. It would just be amazing. I'm here for it. I'm here for all the controversy.
Oh, I mean, like you say, I don't even care if it wins or loses, but
same. Yeah.
But just the fact that have the buildup of will it count? Will it not count? I don't know, and this is, and by the way, it's, it's, you have the history buffs of, well, the Triple Crown can never be, we got to change the distances or change the time between. It's like all of it. Just I'm here for all of it.
All of it.
So, all right, I'll piggyback off yours a little bit. And by the way, if let us know in the whether you're watching this live or you're watching this after the fact. Let us know either live in the comments or in the comments below on YouTube. What are you looking forward to? Like, what is it you're looking forward to most? Yep. Obviously, it wasn't just us who struggled with 2023 in a lot of ways for racing. So what are you looking forward to in 2024? Mine would be, I'll piggyback off yours a little bit. You mentioned a Triple Crown on the line. That starts off with me. How about we get a quality 3-year-old to win the Kentucky Derby? Can we do that?
Yeah.
No offense to the Mage supporters and the Rich Strike supporters, but I mean, come on, those two. And then the year before, you have the whole Mandaloon, and he's the winner, but he's not the winner. And then Baffert, the situation. Authentic was the year before that, but hey, by the way, that was in October.
Yeah.
Country House, oh, that happened before that, right? Country House. Justify was the last, and even then, you're like, that horse wasn't even eligible to run in the Kentucky Derby. Technically, we found that now, but they're not going to change that. So, Always Dreaming, I guess, if you really want to go through the smorgasbord there of horses, Always Dreaming is like the last one where you're like, oh, that was like a good horse going in, and a good horse won the race. Of course, he was awful the next race and was awful ever since. But Nyquist, American Pharoah, like, where are the Pharaohs? Where are the Chromes? Where are the Nyquists? Where are the All Have Anothers? Like, give me one of those this year.
I remember talking about Justify. Let's count Justify as one just for the sake of what I'm about to say. And again, he was, at the time, at least, that all felt good. And that felt good all the way up until they officially took him off the Santa Anita win. But anyway, let's count him. I remember talking to Patrick, our good buddy from Wiesen, and he was talking about, man, it's just so cool. All these great horses, Triple Crowns. I said, enjoy it, because we've had a great run. Pharaoh, and I mean, Nyquist was very good. Obviously, you mentioned Always Dreaming. He was bad after it, but he was really good leading up to it. And then Justify, I said, and I shouldn't have. I put this out in the freaking or atmosphere. I said, enjoy it. We'll have a run where it sucks. We've had a run where it sucks, and you can't. There's no way around it. I mean, look, not even forget about like the Rich Strikes and the Mage, the disqualifications, and then a winner, but then you take him down 4 days later, and then the COVID, which there's nothing anybody could do about that. That was 3 years in a row where we didn't have a real Derby, or we had we had disqualifications on the track or days after, and then you get the Rich Strike thing, and then you get Mage. It's been a bad run, but these things go in runs. You look through the history of that race, there are moments where somebody wins, and you go, why did he win, or how did he win, or what is going on? And then there's moments where the best horse wins. So it's got to get back on track. You're right.
Well, just think about it like in a timeline perspective, just for half a second here. So after Always Dreaming, the next year, Justify breaks the curse of Apollo, goes on to win the Triple Crown, like an amazing, but still in itself was a crazy story. The next year, Country House gets put up, and the first DQ ever in the Kentucky Derby, he gets put up as the winner. The next year was COVID year, so it didn't even happen in May, right? That was just a disaster in itself, not really necessarily racing's fault, but still different. And then the next year, you're like, okay, let's get back to normal. COVID's over. We're back to May. Like, this is going to be it. And then Bob Baffert wins, but he doesn't win. Mandaloon gets put up the winner. And then you're like, okay, that was a disaster, but, now COVID's over. Yeah. That's over with. Bob Baffert's on here, but hey, we can do this.
Yep.
Rich Strike wins, the horse that got drew in 2 days before. Then the next year, you're like, okay, this is it. Like, we can, like, Rich Strike, that was crazy. And then Mage wasn't like wild, but
no,
he also like was a surprise how he did it, let's just say. And on top of that, you had the scratch of Forte. you know what I mean? You had a bunch of scratches before, and just felt like the Derby in itself kind of fizzled a little bit as we headed into, you had a horse like Tapit Trice, being close to the favorite, which is just wasn't good. And so, yeah, I mean, when you look at that timeline there, it's been 2017 since you felt like a normal year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you talk about Mage, and I don't want to slander Mage either, and I don't think you do, but by no way, shape, or form is he close to the best horse in the crop. That's the point of it, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's not trash. He was a fine
Yeah.
little horse, but he wasn't the best horse coming into that. He wasn't the best horse coming out of it. He wasn't close to the best horse in the crop. He was just the best horse on that day, And like you said, so many injuries involved in that thing as well that killed you. By the way, is the Curse of Apollo officially dead?
I mean, it's got to be, because we've seen it twice now in the last 5 years or whatever. So
I think with Justify, you could have justified it as saying, well, look, he was a freak, and when Mage does it, it's dead. The Curse of Apollo is officially
totally agree.
dead.
When Justify does it, you say it's still a curse. It could still be a curse because that horse, like you said, was a freak. But when Mage does it, you're like, okay, never mind.
That's not even a thing you should think about anymore.
No, I agree. All right, so there you go. Let's get a Derby winner. Let's get a good quality Derby winner. You go next.
I'm staying at Saratoga. Forget about the Belmont. I'm looking forward to Saratoga this coming year, just so I could quit thinking about Saratoga from 2023. The absolute worst meet of the season, and got to be the worst meet in Saratoga history.
It's got to be the worst meet. Well, and I'll even give you mine, because mine's in the same breath of yours. It's like, I'd like to visit Saratoga without a complete and utter disaster. Like, without leaving the track thinking I'm done with racing. Like, how about that? I went twice to Saratoga this year for two of the biggest races of the year, and both times it was totally unenjoyable. And, you and I, it was just, it sucked. So yeah, I'm like, can I just attend Saratoga and have it feel like a Saratoga meet?
I've never been rattled like I was with the Travers. The Whitney happened and you just kind of felt numb, but by the time the Travers came back, you kind of just had this thought in your head is that, that was just kind of a freak little thing that happened, and it's awful that it happened, but it's just one of those things. It's bad luck is kind of how you justified it in your head. And then when it happened to the Travers, I was just like, I don't know what this is. I'm with you. I can't wait for it to come back and hopefully kind of redeem itself. It was just such a rough year, to the point where we didn't want to be there. And if we don't want to be at Saratoga, that tells you how bad it got.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone felt it, but you felt it extra hard when you were there and witnessed it in person, and it made it really hard, especially considering both times it happened. Not that it would have made it any better, but like that they were like middle half into the cards, so you still had racing to go, and you're just like, this sucks, right? You're just like, I don't even know how to even be excited about these. Like, I don't care who wins the Travers at this point, it's just like whatever. And this is the fact that it happened, like, not the two big ones, right? The ones we're talking about, Maple Leaf Mail and New York Thunder. It's like they happened like so similar. They were just so like, I'll never see that again. Thank God I will not. And then you did literally the next time you go to that track, you see it again, and you're just like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, and I mean, I remember you and I sitting there at our Airbnb the day after, thinking, like, are they shutting down Saratoga? What's the plan? Like, are they going to just cancel it completely? And it's just that when you have those thoughts the day after attending what should have been one of the biggest races of the year, that's not good.
It was kind of weird because like the first time it happened, like you're even like your heart. I keep thinking of and I can't. His first name's escaping me, but one of the guys we met up there on Whitney Day, he comes up to us and he's always talking about Whitney, and it's like he didn't he cared what had happened, but still, like, he was in gambling mode. And then you saw that same guy right before the Travers, and he's like, I don't care about this anymore. And it's like, if it's hitting that guy, the degenerate guy who he really just cares about his bets and that's it. And by the way, that's fine. That's what the game's about. It's not a knock. But when that guy comes up to you and says, I just don't care about this Travers now, that's when you know it got bad. And so that's kind of what happened. It almost like it crossed over to even the hardest of hardcore racing bettors were just like, yeah, this just isn't fun anymore, So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to Saratoga coming back and this not happening for sure.
That's right. I mean, what they say, can't knock on wood.
Yeah.
Can't get worse, right? So
hopefully.
All right, I'll get one more here and a little more upbeat. I'm looking for, I do think this upcoming Horse of the Year campaign is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to see most importantly, the favorite of the Horse of the Year right now is White Barrio, and just the fact that what he did kind of seemingly out of nowhere to rattle off not just the Whitney but the Classic and both dominating factors. Really, this is obviously the Horse of the Year candidate or lead candidate and it's like, how can he put together a campaign that can win Horse of the Year? And that to me would be truly incredible. And on top of that, there are a few other horses underneath as we head into this year that I'm interested in that could, like you've got obviously Baffert, like take your pick, right? Arabian Night, what's he going to be like as a 4-year-old, national treasure? What's he going to be like as, I thought he ran really well in the Breeders' Cup. What are some of these horses that are going to do, the 3-year-olds turning into 4, what are they going to do? And how are they going to be any sort of competition for White Barrio?
Yeah, I think that's a good one for sure. Is he right horse, right time? Is he actually going to keep it going and they're going to keep him at that level? We're going to find out. I don't know. He certainly ran 2 really good races in a row. And if he can do that, like you said, he's probably going to be 2024's Horse of the Year. So I'm excited to see what he does. It's going to be tough though, right? I mean, they're going to take him overseas and those races aren't easy to win. So
yeah. Angel of Empire, Shoddy, I've seen you in all the comments. You're excited to see Angel of Empire disarm, who people forgot about, really, because they kind of took him off completely and then said, we're going to wait till next year. Same with Angel Empire, So, yeah, what are these horses going to come back as? Yeah, I think, by the way, you've had more time to think about it. We're getting closer to the, Horse of the Year honors for this year. Have you moved it all on that, or are you still leaning towards Cody's Wish? You think he's going to get that?
Who I think is going to get it? 100. I mean, Cody's Wish is going to get it 100%. Yeah. I don't think I don't really think it'll be close.
I don't either. Just the more I feel like, everyone's kind of like giving it to him by now, and it's like, on the other side, it's like, well, White Barrio's coming back, so he can win Horse of the Year this year or next year. So it's like, I just kind of feel like it's.
Yeah.
The fact that Cody's Wish, it only helps his vote, in my opinion, that he's like retiring, he's leaving, like give him the award. So, all right. Yeah. So Horse of the Year for me, I'm looking forward to, and I think not just Horse of the Year, but how White Barrio comes back after what you kind of, like you said, like after just 2 really good races.
Yep, for sure.
You got any more?
I got one more, and
right.
To me, this is the biggest, for me, the most interesting storyline to follow all year, and that's the Rick Dutrow story. Because to me, it's fascinating. When I first started getting into racing, he was a big deal. He was winning races like crazy, and he almost won a Triple Crown with Big Brown. And so young me kind of followed him. Was like, man, I can bet his horses. I can kind of rely on them. They always show up. And then as I get to know things, it's like, oh gosh, all these rumors. He's juicing. He's this. He's that. Whatever. And then he gets the suspension. I never thought I'd see him again. Now he's back, and it really took like 2 months, and he was back at the top. And he's getting horses. He's getting good young horses as well. And I've always been told about him, he's a shady guy, but he's a really, really good horseman, like super good horseman. And I think he's kind of proving that, a little bit. So how does it end? Does it end with him kind of redeeming himself? He stays out of trouble and he gets some good horses and he keeps winning, or does he get right back in trouble? How does this Rick Dutrow story end? I think the beginning of kind of the last chapter for him was the end of this year, and now coming into next year. So I'm super intrigued. I've always kind of been entertained by the guy. I can't really say that I like him. Can't really say that I dislike him. I just think he's interesting. So what happens with him is going to be really, really, really interesting.
It's kind of like if you would have, like, somehow for whatever reason left the game for 10 years and then came back, you're like, yeah, there's nothing. I'm not surprised he won the Classic, and I'm not surprised that he's got the leading horse of the year candidate for next year. Like, what did I miss? And then you're like, oh wait, by the way, he was suspended basically the whole time you were gone.
Yeah.
It is crazy. You don't often see. Well, obviously his situation was different in itself, but like in any sport, when you have a long suspension or you're away from the game for a long time, you don't see them get back to that level ever again, right?
Yep.
And in our sport, it's like, well, you could have seen like, okay, well, he's not going to get the horses because of the tainted,
Yep.
Whatever, and he's not going to get the kind of the stock. And to not only do it, but do it so quickly, like you said, that, yeah, I'm with you. It's like, oh wow, he not only is he training again, but he's taking a horse like Wide Barrio to win the Classic.
See, and that just did. He's kind of earned it, right? Because if people forgot, I wouldn't say Wide Barrio was a joke by any means. He was solid, but he was not doing much after that Florida Derby win. Really, he hadn't done a whole lot. And to take Wide Barrio and to win the Whitney and the Breeders' Cup Classic, I don't know how he's doing it. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He could be dirty. I don't know. But look, the bottom line is whatever he's doing, I mean, that is super impressive. So I'm intrigued by him, and you may hate me for saying that if you don't like him, and I don't really blame people for not liking him or wanting to root for him. And I'm not necessarily saying I'm rooting for him. I'm saying I'm interested to see what he does.
Yeah, because again, it will be interesting because it's like if it gets to the point where it's like, okay, you won the Classic, and say Wide Barrio just rattles off multiple grade ones, in a row, and then he throws in a couple 3-year-olds that are promising, right? You're just like, dude, chill the fuck out for a second. Like you're raising too many flags, and kind of makes you wonder how long how long is it going to be before something happens? And or I'm not saying it will, but like you said, like, yeah, you kind of wonder. So
you do.
It is interesting, to say the very least, to have his horses coming that fast back into it. So
yep.
I think the bigger tale will be these 3-year-olds, right? Or I mean, soon to be 3-year-olds, because I know there's a few in there that are interesting and they've ran well as 2-year-olds. If he can get, because like you mentioned, the Big Brown, and if he can kind of get back to that circle, that high quality 3-year-old prospect, like wins a Kentucky Derby, say, or something along those lines, it's like, dude, man, like that's insane to come back like that.
I think he's got a couple that are pretty decent. So we'll kind of see. I mean, again, we are on that time of year where it's like, I don't know how they'll develop, but I've seen a couple talented ones, El Capi being one of them. But again, he might flop next race. He might win by 3 or 4, and we go, oh, this could be, another, maybe not another Big Brown, but a horse that could get him back to the Derby.
He needs to train a Big Brown horse.
I mean, if he wants to win, he probably doesn't, though.
All right,
bad
guys.
Sire.
By the way, Shoddy, I believe I think Up to the Mark retired right after the Breeders' Cup. So
yeah,
I think that's what happened with him. So I don't know that Up to the Mark is gonna be around, but yeah, he would have been a nice one to head into this. Obviously was a top contender this year as a horse of the year candidate on turf. But yeah, I think just with all his issues, he might be done. So yeah, there's a look at 2024. Obviously, tons more to learn as we get closer. As we get into it, I should say. But yeah, I mean, hopefully I know it did for me. Like going through this, like it's easy to kind of be down after a tough year, and what kind of all the things we've experienced, the roller coaster of emotions we've experienced this year. But it is nice to see kind of these topics, and like, yeah, I'm actually excited for 2024 and what kind of the prospects we have going into it. I'm just like, please, fingers crossed. Can we get more than anything on my list? It's like, Santa, please bring me a quality Kentucky Derby horse. Please. I don't even care. Like, if it's someone I picked, if it's someone I didn't pick, like, just give me a good one I get excited about.
So let me ask you one last thing, because you did that video on the 5 horses you're most looking forward to.
Yeah.
And obviously you did the video before Malibu Day. Does Speedboat Beach qualify, or like a Newgrange now after seeing that, or no?
I think Speedboat does for me a little bit. I don't know, like, that he would make my top 5, but I do think he's got not a pun intended, a boatload of talent. Like, he is, when he brings it. And, those last 2 races weren't awesome, or at least the last race in the Breeders' Cup wasn't awesome from him, but man, he's just got it. He's got a ton of talent. I don't know that what he is, like, he's probably going to, just stick it to sprinting in that division. But I do think, he to me, it's tough because out west it's hard. You don't get a lot of like quality unless you're a classic horse. You're not going to get a ton of attention out west. So what will we see from him, and where will Baffert kind of push the envelope a little bit with him in some of those big time sprint races, maybe out in the east?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's interesting. I wonder if they might think Met Mile. I think that'd be a really good race for him.
Yeah.
I think the Met Mile, and John White kind of mentioned this. He thinks the Met Mile would be a great race for Arabian Night too, So there's a couple of options there for those 2 horses. And again, you might be right. That may be too long for Speedboat, but listen, I don't really know why they didn't put a real jockey on him for those last 2 races, and they did for this one, but it certainly worked out well for this one.
And what about I haven't even heard since the Breeders' Cup. Is Saudi Crown still pointing to the Saudi Cup? Is that something we're still trying to do?
Yes. Yeah.
Because he's another one of those horses that could be interesting as we head into the new year. I don't know, really. I thought the Breeders' Cup was pretty disappointing, but but all along I didn't think he would run well in the Classic. I was disappointed they chose that route, and so I do think he has got some talent, and just another one of those horses that I think that division itself, the sprint division, whether it be a mile and mile less, could be very interesting. Not just with Speedboat Beach, but like horses like Saudi Crown and some of those, those 3-year-old turning 4 sprinters, or maybe like that were on the Triple Crown type trail that might cut back. To me, that's a division that's very interesting.
Yeah, I agree, and I think
Arabian Night, Michael, Arabian Night. That's a horse that you definitely could see Bob Baffert going shorter. Breeders' Cup, or not the Breeders' Cup Mile, but the Met Mile. That would be another one that could be interesting in that race.
I think Saudi would make a ton of sense for the mile as well, but I don't know. I don't know if the ownership group agrees or not. That's a thing. So, look, I think it's going to be a better year if the 3-year-olds develop nicely. I think we've got some talented horses that just for whatever reason had some struggles last year, and now they're gonna, if they can put it all together, struggles meaning injuries, like staying on the track. But now if they can put it all together, I think we're gonna see some nice races from some of these horses. So yeah, and look, I mean, National Treasure. I know Shoddy and Rodney love to talk about him, and look, he's training for something, so we'll see.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on on what we're looking forward to for 2024. All right, yeah. No, don't fight, Michael and Shoddy. Okay.
Yeah, the National Treasure love is going to be interesting throughout this year. I don't see the love like that. I understand Shoddy's, so I see why with her, because that was a fantasy horse. But
yeah, I know
he has 2. I mean, he's won 2 out of 10. in all of his losses but one, he really hasn't been threatened, like a threatening second, third, fourth. He's been pretty distant. So
It's like that. It's like that race gave every like the especially the fans, gave like this hope of like, oh, he might be good.
yeah,
I don't know.
he ran 9 races that were pretty much average to below average, and then he ran an extremely good race at the Breeders' Cup. Extremely good. But that is out of his 10 races, the Breeders' Cup race is by far the outlier of the rest. So, but again, is that a sign that, hey, he's put it all together and he's ready to have a big year, or was that just kind of a fluky performance? I think that's the question on him. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I guess if he shows up at the Pegasus, I don't know who else is really going there. So maybe he's the right horse for that race.
I don't know. I'll be honest though, dude. Like even I don't know what this is probably not bad. Maybe I'm just too biased against him at this point, but it's like I don't know really what he could do in that race to make me think, oh wow, he's a really good horse. And I don't know. Like even if he wins, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I still don't try, I still don't like him,
Yeah, he would kind of feel like Mucho again. Wasn't that horse's name? Mucho Mucho Gusto.
Mucho
Mucho
Gusto, yeah.
Gusto, who won that race,
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
They're just like, yeah, he won, but
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
look, I mean, he could go win that race if nobody shows up.
that's just it. It's like that's what's disappointing about the race. If he's the top prospect,
Yeah.
that's saying something because
No doubt. Yep.
you said he's won twice. So
2 out of 10.
all right, time for rapid fire. Let's kick things off here at Gulfstream Park. We got 3 at Gulfstream Park. We're gonna go to Santa Anita after this. So let's start with race number 8. This is Saturday at Gulfstream, the Swanee River Stakes, Grade 3 with 150K going 1 mile on the turf. Field of 10, Halterman shows up here, and it's a tough one. You got 5-2 on the 9 horse fastest flight. Got options across the board. Where are you going?
Should I go with a longer shot in this one? I'm between 2 horses. Should I go with a big price here?
I went shorter price, so you can go long if you'd like.
All right, I'll go longer then. I have debated between like 3 horses pretty much the whole time since you told me we were doing this race. I'm going to go deep in here, obviously. I went number 8, Sister Luann, on top at 12-1. So I'll go ahead and make that official. Look, again, I've debated a lot. I will probably go 4 deep in the race here. But the number 8, Sister Luann, getting back to the turf here and cutting back to that mile distance, I think that's when we've seen her at her best. Gets Jose Ortiz aboard here. So a lot of it is I don't trust the favorites very much at all in this race. I really don't. And a lot of it is like Safi's been really good early in this meet, and cashed in with a couple of horses of his today actually. So I'm just going to take a little bit of a shot. Hope the field's not quite that good. So number 8, Sister Luann for me.
Yeah, that's actually, to be honest with you, one that I looked at quite a bit.
Yeah.
When I looked at this one, I kind of liked. He's got a couple in here. That was the one that I liked more than the other one. Has the thing about that one has shown that she's good enough to do it.
Yep.
At least I think so in the past. Now they've been lower level races and not this, to this race, but I think she does have the numbers that on her best day, she could be there with a shot. So I don't hate that pick, especially at 12-1. I went with the 4 Full Count Felicia. I went back and forth on this one a lot on several different options in the race, but Full Count Felicia is where I ultimately pulled the trigger. I like the fact that we're getting Irad Ortiz to ride.
Yep.
I think that was a big tell, in my opinion, where especially when he could have probably had several options in this race to pick, and he's on a Brittany Russell horse who he hasn't rode for this horse. So Full Count Felicia is a horse that going this distance has ran okay, has a win at this distance, but as of late, I thought that if you look at the last 4 races, 3 of those have been an 89 or higher buyer, and to me that's enough, or at least puts the horse right there in in the ballpark. That last time out went out west to Santana in the Goldacova, and I thought ran fourth, only beaten 3 though. To Hamwood Flyer and Queen Goddess and Closing Remarks, like some good horses out there. So give me number 4, Full Count Felicia. I like also that she does have speed, but she also can sit off of it a little bit as well.
Yeah, that was one I thought about picking. So I'm with you on that one. I think that's a nice pick. I went back and watched the Goldacova a lot. I didn't think it was a bad race at all, but I don't know. I just kind of I left that race thinking, man, it wasn't great either. So, but look, this is an easier field for sure.
Yeah, definitely an easier field. I don't know. Like you look at those 3 before that, where she rattled off multiple length wins, but they were all going longer, then cut back. But if you get anywhere in between those 2 performances, I think would be enough to get it done. Especially the fact that you get Irad to jump on board. I think that's a big sign.
Yep.
So give me the 4, Gold Count Felicia. All right, let's go to race 10, the Harlan's Holiday Stakes, Grade 3. This is worth 150K going to mile 16th. Field of 11 lines up here for 3-year-olds and up, by the way. 11 lines up here. 5-2 on the 6 O'Connor, another Saffy Joseph horse. Did you go here? Are you going Saffy again?
I went Saffy again. I don't love it, but I don't know. I went back and forth. I don't like this field very well. I remember last year Skippy Longstocking was in this race, and of course O'Connor was in this race as well. And I felt really good about Skippy. Like I was like, all right, and this year in this race, I'm going O'Connor. I don't feel great about it. Another race, I'm gonna have to go pretty deep. I feel like though it's pretty competitive. I don't know. This course has kind of came full circle a little bit. Kind of was disappointing, but has kind of, came back around. I thought the race last time out in the Fayette was good enough. Give me the number 6 O'Connor in here. Don't love the price, but I just think maybe he's at his best right now, and he'll run him down late and win it this year.
O'Connor, can't fault you for that one. I think is a fair favorite, but I'm with you. I didn't love this race. So I was going to try to, I'm trying to pull off an upset at least with that favorite. No, not. By the way, this horse could very well go off the favorite, and that's number 9, Gasoline. That's going to be my top play here. Pletcher, Irad, another Irad pick here for me. But horse went off at sub 4-1 in the Clark last out. First Mission, Trademark. Those 2 kind of ran off with that one, and obviously it was a hell of a race. First Mission, by the way, is another horse I'm looking forward to. And I forgot to even mention him earlier, but as we head into next year. But finished 5th, wasn't a great race. But you look at the races prior. An allowance race won by 5 at going to mile 16th has ran well at this distance, 2 for 2 at this distance. I mean, to me, he's a horse that's like, I'm not going to be really surprised one way or another. I think he could win this race somewhat easily, and I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if he doesn't really run much of a step. So I'm cautious. Like, I'm not going to be interested in playing him at, say, 2-1 at all. But I do think he's worth playing. 3-1 plus is where I'm kind of at with him. So I'll give me the 9, Gasoline.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I definitely agree with your statement. It could go either way. I kind of liked him in the Clark last time out, and he didn't do great. So hopefully he does better here, but easier field here for sure.
You look at his wins, and that's he's so, and I think that's like the hype around him, right? He's never been really, I think 5-1 maybe is about the highest he's ever been in any race.
Yep.
He's always, been bet. He's always been thought of, he's a nice looking horse. But that Clark was his first step up into that kind of, first stakes action, definitely, race to that caliber. Kind of showed, right, that maybe he wasn't good enough in that day. But I do like the fact that Irad's on board, that Pletcher ships him here at Gulfstream Park, and is in a stakes race again. So, hopefully he can get the job done this time out. So number 9, Gasoline, hopefully we can get a playable price. All right, let's go to race 11, the Fort Lauderdale Stakes, Grade 2 or 200K, going to mile 1/8 on the turf. For 3-year-olds and up, field of 10. Lines up here. Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz. I'm just realizing by the way, that I think I picked Irad in every race. 2-1 on running B, which is not a bad thing at Gulfstream Park. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm a little more excited about this one. I really like running B, the 9-horse. Sounds like you do too, since you said you picked Irad every time. Look, this is a nice one. Obviously, this isn't the hardest field, but it's still not too tough of a field here, or not too bad of a field, I should say. But running B, the last 2 races have been really good. They were 387 days apart, and they look pretty similar. So I think this horse is ready for stakes company. Once again in this spot, I think we'll get it done. I really like running B. I like that he is drawn all the way almost to the outside. I think he's a versatile horse. He can kind of pick and choose where he needs to be. So give me the 9 running B.
Yep, I'm with you. Obviously, I kind of gave it away there, but yeah, give me running B as well. Listen, I tried to beat him at first, and I kind of went through the field and I thought, he's this is an opportunity to try to beat Chad Brown at a low price. The horse is coming in. You kind of untested necessarily at this level. And then the more I looked at the field, I just thought, I don't know. Like, do I want to pick, main event? Like, that horse feels like he could just go out and blaze. But, I think there's going to be some competition with that on the front end as well. I love the fact of where we got placed here with the 9 running B on the outside, sitting on the outside, has speed. Like, you look at the last 2 races where the horse is kind of, I would say, opened up and kind of shown like maybe this horse has got a ton of talent, and they've been, gate to wire. But the horse has also won kind of sitting off of it a bit. And I do think that gives Irad Ortiz the versatility. It's like, hey, if I'm going to go and I'm going to get good placement drawing from the outside, but I'm also like, if there's a horse that's going to, is just dead set on, main event being one of those, it's like we're going to go, like, you can sit right off of that as well. And to me, that I like that fact with running B. And so I'm with you. I went with running B. What price are you interested in? Like, how much of a like are you with this Chad Brown horse? Like, how low a price would you take?
Well, I think you're going to have to expect like 7 to 5, and I think that's if anything below that, it starts to get a little too low. But you're going to expect this horse to take money. It's Chad Brown. It's won 2 in a row, so 7 to 5 would be about right.
You really look at that one at Kentucky Downs, and that was you can scratch those out every year. Really, they don't mean a lot when it comes to overall class. And he's ran really well every time. Took him a couple times to break his maiden, but once he did, he did it at Saratoga and did it really impressively. Went to Kentucky Downs, and then has rattled off 2 really nice wins at Keeneland and Aqueduct. So to me, I think he's the goods. I don't know that he's like a world-class type Chad Brown colt, on the turf, but I definitely think he could win here. So yeah, number 9 running B. All right, let's go to, where are we going here? Santa Anita. Let's pull that up. By the way, why I asked you, maybe someone in the chat can help us. I would love to know, is there an actual good reason as to why this race is race number 1? So, like, what I always do when I'm going through, like, on Equibase, like when I'm going through the stakes, I click on the stakes race, right? But usually Equibase is awesome and they don't take you to that actual race, right? So you're like trying to scroll through, like, okay, so I instantly always go to like race 8, 9, like, I'm like, thinking that's where it's going to be. Like, where the hell is this race? It's race 1. I don't know. I mean, dude, other than like a stakes race on the undercard of the Breeders' Cup, I can't think of a time we've seen a graded stakes race other than like the jumpers at Saratoga, right? That for race number 1 on the card. What is this?
The only thing I could think of after you texted me and I said, hell, I don't know. But the only thing I thought of afterward was, is it maybe supposed to rain Saturday afternoon or something? I don't know. I have no idea. That's the only thing I could have thought of. But at the same time, it's like they put the Malibu in like the 7th race, and then they put the La as a feature on opening day. And it's like, why are you doing that? That's so weird.
All right. Well, I'm going to text John and maybe he gives an answer while we're on live on air, but we will, regardless of the race.
Yeah.
It's race number 1, the Joe Hernandez Stakes on Saturday at Santa Anita, grade 2. We're 200K, going about 6.5 furlongs on the downhill turf for 3-year-olds and up. Field of 12 with one also eligible added in there as well in this race. Down the hill at Santa Anita, what could go wrong? Where are you going?
Yeah, this is another one. Surprise, surprise. I'm debating between two horses in this one, the 1 and the 10. I ended up on the 10, turn on the Jets here. I just think the horse is a little bit more consistent. But, like I said, I was really debating between the two. But the 10, turn on the Jets, boy, every time shows up with a really solid effort. Getting back to the downhill, I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem either. So give me the 10, turn on the Jets. I kind of like the outside post going down the hill and maybe can just kind of stalk and pounce. So 10 for me.
So turn on the Jets was it's an interesting one. Let me pull up his number because I looked at that one for a while. This one of those like Diamato horses that just continues to run well. It feels like every time. Did you like the fact that Hernandez got back aboard last time and then stuck with him this time?
Yep, I did. I thought that was a good sign as well. And look, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this race, a lot of inconsistent horses, I should say, but this one just seems to bring it every time. And yeah, you get Hernandez again. I didn't think that could be taken as a bad thing. That's for sure.
I looked at this race and thought,
he thought, I'm leaving. There you go. He looked at this race. He said, it's so bad I'm leaving. So I guess I'll fill some time here. Not sure what happened. There he is. I think
I'm back. Yeah. I went to click back on the share, like on the share the screen thing, and I clicked on the wrong tab. So that's awesome. Okay. Anyways, one thing I looked at when I looked at this race was like Forbidden Kingdom. Like, wow. He's going to the turf. This is interesting. Downhill, like he's one of those that I feel like I need to use defensively, Forbidden Kingdom, just because I don't know what he's going to be on the downhill, but he might be really freaking fast and tough to beat. So he's ran on turf once, finished third at Santa Anita. Listen, I went to the 1 Lucky Score. Man, I thought, what is this horse doing in this race? Just the fact that it's Mark Cassidy. You don't see a lot of these out here, but we did run at Santa Anita last time out in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and didn't run terrible. Master of the Seas obviously won that race, but finished 7th, but only beaten like 3 lengths. It just kind of came running, kind of got in some traffic there. But prior to that, got second to Big Invasion. In the at Woodbine, Red's obviously been running at Woodbine, got third in the Woodbine Mile to Master of the Seas. So like hasn't won, but also not anywhere near disappointing in any of those races. Now, obviously he's going to have to step up and finally decide to win one here. But I think the 1 Lucky Score, if I can get anywhere at 5-1, is super interesting.
Well, that you picked the other one, so I'm glad, because I was, like I said, between the 1 and the 10, so that's a good pick. By the way, it is the rain. They're a threat of rain. That is why they're running this race early.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Well, leave it to Santa Anita. They're always like trying to predict the weather as far as how like they run their races. So
well, I think the problem is when it rains out there, they just don't run a lot of times. So I think that's kind of the issue there.
Especially when you got a race that's specific to the downhill turf, right? It's like this is you got horses. If this thing scratches off, you're gonna get 3 horses, right? So but yeah. You like Lucky Score quite a bit?
I do. I think that's a horse that makes a ton of sense. Been running it like you said against tougher, and now gets this one. So yeah, I do.
You look at this, like, so Master. Here's like a list of some of the horses that's beaten this horse the last, say, handful of times. Master of the Seas, Maj, and Casa Creed. Those were all top 3 in that Breeders' Cup Mile. Big Invasion, Master of the Seas again, and Cheryl's Spite, War Bomber, Dream Shake and War Bomber. I mean, this is a horse that's been facing tough horses out there at Woodbine, and then came to Santa Anita, and I don't necessarily think disappointed. Just kind of got some traffic, and obviously was like 50-1, right? So, I wouldn't be surprised to see this horse run really well here, and hopefully, I think we can get a lot of that 5-1 as well.
Yep. Oh, I agree. I definitely agree. I think whatever price you want to get, you're gonna get on this one.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at it. Who?
Yeah.
Like, is Forbidden Kingdom going to go off the favorite? I don't blame John, by the way, for putting him as a favorite, but like, is he going to go off the favorite?
I think I'm with you. Like, I think that's a good morning line. He probably should be the favorite horse, but I don't think he's really bettable as a favorite.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I said, like I'm going to try to use him and everything just because it's like, I think he's an all or nothing. I'm more like he's either going to win or don't even use him kind of thing,
100% agree.
With Forbidden Kingdom. So, and that's kind of been his MO, his career, right? So,
I wouldn't key him underneath.
he's not a key underneath kind of horse by any means. So, all right, I got number 1. Lucky score. Halterman's going number 10. Turn on the Jets. Yeah, I got a little click happy over here, and I was like flying through the tabs, and I clicked it. I was like, I've done that like once before. I'm like, son of a bitch. I know exactly what happened. So, my apologies.
I when I saw you pop back up real quick, I was like, okay, that wasn't a computer crash.
No, I actually have good internet now, so I live in the new age now. So after a few weeks without it. Oh man. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racedudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Race Dudes premium button at the menu at racedudes.com to learn more. Remember, go check out the best bets page. We got that thing going. Obviously, that will be getting more geared up as we head into the new year and the racing starts picking back up. You can see that on the main menu there, just best bets. We have a Kentucky Derby page so you can get up to date points and the upcoming races and the Oaks and all that good stuff. Make sure you go check out the top 5 horses to watch for the 2024 season. We kind of, obviously talked a little bit about that today on today's show, but my top 5. You also want to take a look at when are the rankings coming out, Halterman? When are the official top 20 starts coming out? Is that started the new year?
Yeah, that'll be next week. Probably Tuesday. Those will come out. I'll wait for those races to run Monday and then put them out. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, look forward to that. Obviously, that's a big thing for as we head into the to the new year. Yeah, thanks, Shotty. The office is coming together a little bit. Yep. My little closet office. It's more like it's a miniature office, but it works. It's all I do here is do podcasts and sit at my computer, so I don't need a huge office. But let's see, what else do we got? Oh, the Matthew Mike show, they're off, right? So they'll be back next week. And let's see, I was going to tell you something. What was I going to tell you? I don't know what I'm thinking about it. I'll just go through the thing. We're on Twitter at Racing_Dudes, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places you listen to. We are there. The YouTube channel, that's still going, obviously, and we're got tons of content headed your way. I'm talking about an idea in my head about doing a video for the worst performances or the biggest letdowns of 2023. I felt like it was too easy to come up with them, because of what happened. But let me know, you guys, in the comments here. Do you think that would be a good idea? Almost like a let's hash this out type thing. Like this is like. Yeah. I need to get this. And by the way, it'd be my personal letdowns, not like the general letdowns. But, I know one particular horse that's definitely going to be top of that list. But I think we all have those lists as well. So, yeah, I'm tossing that idea around. So maybe we look for that in the YouTube channel here pretty soon. But any final thoughts, Halterman?
I think Hoosier Philly is my most disappointing horse. When you think of how heavily hyped that horse is and how she ran. So that's one, when you said that to the group, I was like, oh, Hoosier Philly she was so disappointing in comparison to the expectations.
Well, I think it's funny too, is like, as soon as I brought that up to the group chat, everyone was kind of like started firing off horses. It's like, we all have those in our head, right? Until you start thinking about it and you're like, son of a bitch. I mean, Nest is a big one for me. Based off of the expectations. Obviously Tappet Trice, that's what horse. I mean, I can't.
He would be right up there.
I can't. Yeah, he's for me personally, he's number 1. There's no question. Yeah. But yeah, So yeah, I'm kind of like I've started making a makeshift list, and it's kind of depressing. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that one. And this could
Oh,
be, and it's more like a general, like it might be a. I don't want to give it away, but it could be. It doesn't necessarily need to be like a horse in particular. It could be a performance in a race by that horse, or it could be
yeah.
one where you had the expectations of X happening and and Y happened instead. So it's just more of a general kind of. And I think it's good, right, to go through kind of we don't always have to be like, oh, these are the greatest performances. Like sometimes here's the letdowns too. This sucked,
Yep.
and I'm not betting this horse again. So,
Yep.
oh, by the way, Halterman. So I'm like, this. People may not know this, but I'm like totally eaten up with like card breaking now, like
Mm-hmm.
opening cards, and obviously I don't know if anybody is like, I'd love to hear people's experiences with it. But obviously as a kid, I did it, and I think we all did.
Mm-hmm.
But I've kind of gotten into it again and got Cohen into it.
Oh,
And I'm
nice.
talking like, dude, he is so into it. And obviously he doesn't get like, the value and type stuff, but like he's interested in collecting, Chiefs guys. That's really all he cares about is, any Chiefs
Right.
guys.
Right.
So no, like football guys, shoddy. In fact, I gave him a baseball card. Like I had an old Frank Thomas signed autograph card from like when I got it. There was a card shop in our hometown. I don't know if you remember that card shop,
Yep.
but I got
Yep.
it there, and I gave it to him. I was like, put it in, and because Santa brought a case, like a legit case thing that and he gave it back to me yesterday. He's like, Dad, he goes, I'm just really not into baseball. So if you could hold this. So I wouldn't even let me put a card in there. But no, he's totally eaten up with it. Today we opened by the way, one of these. This is a pack, and
Nice.
haven't opened these yet. But we opened one of them today, and he pulled a Rashee Rice rookie card, and he's
nice.
totally amped up about it. So last night we went to the card store, and he got a Mahomes card, and he's just the whole night he kept saying, I just can't believe I have a Mahomes card. He literally carries the case around the house with him.
Yeah.
I mean, like from room to room, dude. Like it's like he's afraid someone's gonna swipe it or something. I don't know.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I remember being like that for sure, and it's same kind of thing, you're trying to get for us, really baseball cards were the only thing for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just trying to get the Cardinals,
Yeah. And Jordan. I remember Jordan, right? I mean, obviously I remember Jordan, but you always like Jordan cards. That's what you wanted, right?
Yep. Jordan. And then like hockey came around like 91, 92. Our like local convenience stores started carrying those. And so you're trying to get the blues, and so, I've got books and books of cards, old cards, probably at my dad's house, I'd say is where they're at.
Well, then that's what kind of got us into it initially, because we were at mom and dad's one night, and
Mhm.
we pulled out some of my old ones, and I gave him some binders and of old, my old binders of cards, and he just thought it was amazing, right? He had, but now it's like now that breaking and the card game is getting kind of bigger again. It's fun to do it together because it's like he's into it, I'm into it, and on top of that, it's like I tried to explain to him, I was like, hey, so he got like a couple Pacheco rookie cards for Christmas, and they're like graded in the case, like they're nice. And so I tried to explain to him, it's like, hey, like we root for him every week, so it's like we might as well. These will increase in value, hopefully, right? Just like any, if he does well, like so, like when he had a touchdown the other day, he's like, Dad, that card's worth more money now. Then the very next play or whatever it was, he fumbled. Well, whoever fumbled it, but it was a fumble. He's like, Dad, it's not worth as much anymore. And so it's just over. Then he got hurt. Dad, it's not worth anything anymore. So it's not like totally up to the minute. But in general, we think if you think so, it's just fun to be able to root with the guys we already root for, but have these kind of things for him to hang on to as well.
Yep.
Maybe he'll pay for his college one day. You never know.
Yeah. So. Well, it was an industry that was just massive, and then it died. I mean, died. and now it's back. So it is an industry that goes up and down for sure. But yeah, it's definitely. I remember probably, I don't know, late 90s, the cards started, they printed too many of them. They just weren't worth anything, because what they would do is you'd open a pack of baseball cards and get a Ken Griffey like every pack. And it's like, well, no, the whole point of it is you open 30 packs and you might not get one Ken Griffey, right?
Right.
So they overprinted them, but it's kind of back now to where it was, where it's a big deal.
But even now, dude, it's like, and I mean, I've been really into it for a couple of weeks or so, maybe. But, and I mean, I'm talking into it. Like, I'm studying and trying to figure out, and it's like you can pull it. So right now, the hottest card you can get right now, or at least the hottest player you can get in football, is CJ Stroud. Okay, so he's a rookie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's obviously had a great year. So that's the card everyone wants to pull. But it's not, you can pull a CJ, like we pulled a CJ Stroud the other day out of one of these boxes, one of the rookies, and it's a base card, and I mean, it might sell for $20. Like, it's not a bad card.
Yeah.
But there's like so many variations of a CJ Stroud,
Yep.
you know? Yep. And so kind of figuring out, okay, well, it's a black prism, or it's a color match prism, or it's a, it's an auto, or it's a numbered card, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many variations that you're trying to keep up with. It's like, what are these worth? Is this worth what, I'll pull a card like, oh, that's awesome. It's a Justin Jefferson. This looks awesome. You look it up, it's like $2. And so it's kind of hard to figure out what's worth what.
It's so funny, because when I got out of it, like 25 years ago, they were just starting that. They call them special insert cards. Like, you had your base card and then you had a special card, and those were starting to get worth something. So it sounds like they've developed that market.
And in fact, you'll watch breaks online, because that's like the whole breaking thing. Like, and what we mean by this is, like, you literally, these people you'll open cards and they'll break them, like they call them breaking. That's opening cards, and you go through them together, and you either can pay for them or whatever. But they go through them so fast, dude. It's like they'll just clear through say there's 15 cards. They'll clear through the first 10. Just boom, just put them off to the side, because those are all base. They don't even look at them. And then that's the inserts after that. So really the bases are worth nothing at this point, other than a base rookie. That's really what you're going for. So it's a tough barrier. I feel like the barrier for entry is tough, and it can be very, one, it's expensive, and two, you can feel stupid, right, if you ask the wrong people. And that, I kind of look back to what we do here. It's like, be honest, be open with people, and be understanding. Like, hey, it's not a dumb question, and that's kind of where I'm at with this, like, asking dumb questions. So, but no, it's fun. So it's exciting. I mean, there's so much of me in him, and so it's just neat to see, like, he's like, Dad, because he went to his mom's today, and he's like, Dad, we have 2 boxes left of those Donruss boxes. He's like, Dad, do not open those until I get back. So I said, all right, buddy, I won't. So, although it's really tempting to do so. But anyways, guys, all right, that's all the time we have. Good luck to you, Halterman, tonight in the OU game. I know you'll be on the edge of your seat watching that one.
Yeah. Sure.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I guess we won't really see you guys until after the new year. So happy New Year, everybody! Have a fun and safe New Year, and we'll see you when all these 2-year-olds turn 3. All right, guys, good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses?